bringing the Carnegie back is an accomplishment to be proud of. It's the first in the world, the first Carnegie in the world to return to library services after conversion to another use. It's now Georgia's oldest existing Carnegie, and it's unique in returning to its original footprint. And last but not least, it's honoring the wishes of its original benefactor, Andrew Carnegie, and Newnan's own Charles Thompson. It all began when I took over the presidency of the Greenville-LaGrange Neighborhood Association. And as part of what we like to do, we circulate a list of what would you like to see done, what are your needs, what would you, your desires, and rank them. Number one, across the board, was bring back the Carnegie.
In 1987, it actually closed because the county, I think as I understand it, sensing that we needed to upgrade the library, county library, built the new facility with SPLOST money out on Hospital Road. And I remember when that happened, and I have to tell you that a lot of people were concerned that I knew, because I lived downtown in College Temple area, that we needed a library that was walkable, that you could reach by, and the idea of putting one out that could only reasonably be accessed by car was kind of not what the original founders of the library had in mind. The library then became an overflow courtroom, essentially. I mean, there were various government functions here, and it was chopped up into small offices. I think at one time it was even a temporary holding cell for people that were going to be brought over for trial, and they would be sequestered here.
It was a perfect time because the county was in this Carnegie building with a courthouse, with their offices, with a holding cell. And they were fixing to leave because they had plans for a big new building, and they didn't need the space anymore. And we just thought, if there's any time to do this, it's now. I had a meeting with Mayor Brady, and I said, number one is to bring back the Carnegie. And he said, I'd like to see that too. We got together with our group from the Greenville-LaGrange and formed Friends of the Carnegie. And not only did we have our group, we started getting more people from all around. Everybody was interested in this. And one of the best things that happened was Carol Wilson, who later became a staff member, but she came up with a mentor. And the mentor was Shirley Spears from the B.B. Comer Library in Silicaca, Alabama. And she said, well, what you need to do is you need to put together a needs survey. And then, circulate around town and find out what the priorities are. And the needs and, just the response from, do you want a Carnegie? And so she just made this thing happen. And she said, this is what the council will want to see.
The Friends of the Carnegie was formed. And we created a structure, we had officers, and we went through the process of creating what we thought the Carnegie could be, and then also visiting with the political powers that would make the decision on the use of the building. We felt it would be better to come as a front of representing neighborhoods than individuals, and so it made much more sense. And we had great relationships with Keith Brady, the mayor, and others. All the commissioners we found were favorable to the idea.
Again, the Friends of the Carnegie were a grassroots organization that were out there trying to, really push this thing and get it back to being a library. So it was great to see the support from the public.
Well, I was part of the city council at the time, and I think it was a far reach for the council financially, and but we wanted to get new uses of it and use it every day.
When the council got together, they did vote to bring the Carnegie back. And that was just a great day. We felt like you know, we really accomplished something that it was just 100% positive.
During the reopening of the Carnegie, I was actually serving as the city's community development director. That's a position that we currently don't have now. As the community development director, I was responsible for overseeing planning, engineering, beautification, and building inspection departments. So when the project of renovating the Carnegie came to fruition, it was assigned to community development. And I had a great team, Tracy Dunnavant, who's still with us today. She was actually assigned to be the project manager.
As a planner, I really don't have a library background. So when they told me I'm going to renovate a library, I'm like, oh, what goes in a library? You know, what is in need? I was very fortunate in that council appointed a committee of media specialists from the school that came in and assisted in telling us, okay, how should it be laid out? What do we need to have in here from a furnishing standpoint and even from a technology standpoint? So those ladies were fantastic, and they're the reason you see what you have in here today and are able to operate as a library.
I think we were the first Carnegie that had been closed to reopen, and we did it in a historic preservation way to honor the original building, and we did it with limited funding. We did it right before the recession really started.
The finances were not, and we knew it was going to be quite a large project, and we reached out to different construction groups in the state, and I think we ended up with a very good one.
The architect was Carter & Watkins, a small boutique firm that we had dealt with before, and they had a history of doing historic renovations. Headley Construction, a local construction company, was the contractor, and they were a perfect match for this job. So as far as the remodeling itself, we didn't have many challenges because we had a great team. I actually managed the exterior renovations myself, and we did some mortar, some pointing, some window repairs, and actually I was in charge of renovating the historic sign on top of the building. It was a hand-painted sign. All the details were hand-painted. It was a pretty simple sign at the time, but trying to find somebody to replicate it was very challenging. I have been told the story, and you've probably heard this story, that the sign represented the influence of electricity in Newnan, because we were one of the earlier communities to have the electricity and the electrical system, so it kind of recognized the influence of electricity.
Well, I thought from the beginning to the end was such a dramatic change. I mean, the woodwork in there is just beautiful, and they went to many different details to see that that was done correctly.
Some people may not realize is we were trying to mimic some of the wood grain that was existing and uncovered. It's hard today to find that same wood grain. So if you look closely at some of the doors, many of the doors in the Carnegie, that wood grain is faux painted.
I really think that the Carnegie represents what we talked about a little earlier, a collaborative effort. As again, I'll mention the Friends of the Carnegie, the public, the council, all of them embracing this one idea and being willing to move forward with it. And as a result, we got this great facility that I think everyone in the community loves.
Well, I think that it was a great time for the community as a whole because the community came together to see this get done. And it was just not a project of the city manager, but of the whole community.
We all met down at the park, and the Boy Scouts were there, and we had a piper band, bagpipes from the park to the Carnegie.
I was a convener of the Order of the Tartan of the Chattahoochee Valley, which was a Scottish fellowship organization. And part of what we did is we had a Scottish low country dancing group. I was started to play the bagpipes a good bit under the tutelage of the pipe major of the Atlanta Pipe Band, whose name is Henry Franz. We reached out to Henry to play the bagpipes along with me as we celebrated the opening.
had a big party here, had speakers, and then we had, of course, throughout the weekend, long weekend, we brought in Senator Isaacson, who read to the children and also discussed topics with the Youth Council. We had a Smithsonian scholar talk about the history of the Constitutional Congress. But it was just, everybody was so happy. We had great turnout. It was just a great, great thing.
I'm hoping that the Carnegie continues to have library type services and being true to the use.
And I see us reaching out, and I see the staff doing this on a regular basis to new ideas, checking out puzzles, checking out any number of items that might raise, you know, the experience and knowledge level.
Well, I think it, from its very inception in the early days, it was meant to be by the community. It was a vision of a young man.
But I knew that if we, the people who were committed to making this library viable, working together with interested and committed public servants, whether they were in government or otherwise, could truly explore doing something different and creative.
There's the story. There's the story about how the Carnegie came to be. There's a story about how it was shut down and how it became a municipal court, how it was almost forgotten. And that story will never leave anyone's mind. But it's just a point of pride. It's a point of connection. It's a point that you're getting service. This facility serves everyone of all ages. It's not for the teenagers. It's not for just the seniors. It's all ages. So when you can connect the community in that way, it's certainly something special.
I'd like to read a statement from Shirley Spears. Citizen and civic involvement, good city support, good boards given autonomy, mentors from business and industry, generous service to less fortunate. The library is part of the total community. High-quality employees with vision, planning for the future, and being ready for growth and change. I think that's the perfect statement from someone who won the first Library Service Award. And I think we have lived up to it. And I think the sky's the limit.